Hey, what's happening, crypto curmudgeons? I am Patrick, your Bitcoin motorist, and I want to talk about silver today because a lot of you guys have been asking me about silver because in some previous videos I said that silver is not a good store of value, and some of you had some questions about that. We're saying, well, why do you think, Patrick? Why do you think silver is not a good store of value? So silver is different from Bitcoin and gold. Both gold has a lot of value as a monetary asset, and Bitcoin, I believe, will become a monetary asset at some point in the future. Although, I mean, currently it kind of is a monetary asset right now. But so so here, let me explain why silver is not gold, and they're very different from each other. They're just completely different commodities. So I'll start with historically the the price ratio of gold to silver back in Greek times was 12 to 1. So gold was worth one ounce of gold was worth 12 times more than an ounce of silver back in Greek times. At least that's what we think based on current information. And the reason for that is because the supply of silver was 12 times more than the supply of gold. So just simply, it was just 12 times more expensive to get an ounce of gold than it was to get an ounce of silver. So this worked out in silver's favor because gold was being used as a monetary asset to transact, but gold is very expensive. Therefore, silver was necessary for smaller transactions. So the value of silver back then was trading as a monetary asset. This is why its price was so close to gold's back then, because it was necessary. These silver coins were necessary for smaller transactions because it was very difficult to divide gold down into tiny parts for a small transaction. Throughout the centuries, the value of gold to silver, the ratio was 15 to 1. And all that changed in about, I think it was 1873. There was a law passed in Congress, of the U.S. Congress. I think it was the Coinage Act of 1873, which said that no longer could owners of silver bullion have their bullion converted into money. So because that law was changed and silver was no longer recognized as a monetary asset, the ratio of gold to silver started to decouple and that ratio started to increase, and it's kind of fluctuated throughout the years, and currently it is about 82 to 1 right now. And so a lot of these silver people are saying, look at the ratio of silver of gold to silver. It's 82 to 1. It's way too high. Silver's going to come back up. I don't. I mean, it could fluctuate. It could go up and down, but it's definitely not going back to 15 or 12 to 1. So the reason why silver decoupled from gold is because it was no longer needed as a monetary asset. And the reason for that is because we were using bills to represent, gold-backed bills to represent dollar. We were on a gold standard back then, and you could actually get these bills down to smaller and smaller increments. It was no longer necessary to use silver for transactions. You could just use gold, and the gold could be represented by these paper bills that were representations of the gold that you owned at the bank. You could turn in these bills. You could turn them in for gold. Because of that, silver was no longer necessary, and it kind of as a monetary asset, and the price decoupled gold and silver. So, and the reason why that happened, a lot of silver bugs tell me that silver is used in industry, and its demand is going to go up, and its price is going to skyrocket. Not necessarily. So let me tell you what makes gold, and by extension Bitcoin, different from silver. Gold has a very, very interesting quality. I talked about this in my previous video. It's got a very, very um, high stock to flow ratio. New gold that is mined out of the ground every year compared to the current stock, the current supply of gold, is 1.5%. So you can think of it as gold has a 1.5% inflation rate. No matter how high the price of gold goes, if the price of gold goes up 10 times, that 1.5% isn't going to change by much. Even if the production of gold doubles, it's only going to go up to about 3%. And 3% is still very, very tiny compared to the current supply. So the inflation rate of gold is very, very small. The stock to flow ratio is very, very high. Now you compare that to silver. Silver's stock to flow ratio is lower than gold's. Silver's inflation rate is 5%. And I understand that silver is used in a lot of industry, but that's exactly why it's not useful as a monetary asset. Because if silver is being consumed and being used in certain industrial uses, and the value of silver goes up, the demand for silver goes up, they're just going to mine more silver. The supply will go up to meet the demand. So if the price of silver doubles or goes up 10 times, all of a sudden you're going to have the market flooded with a lot more silver. More and more in silver is going to be mined out of the ground to meet this demand, this new demand for silver. This is why silver is not going to be a good store of value, in my opinion. Going forward, I think that this decoupling will continue with between silver and gold. But again, I'm not an investment advisor, but that's just my personal opinion. Now, gold's stock to flow ratio, Bitcoin's stock to flow ratio, Bitcoin's inflation rate is somewhere in between silver and gold. Right now, every year, the supply of Bitcoin increases about 3.83%. So it's much higher than gold right now. It's more than double what gold's is. But that's going to change very, very soon. In May of 2020, the Bitcoin inflation rate is going to go down to 1.8%. It's going to be actually pretty comparable to gold, and it's going to go down even further about 4 years after that as well. So the inflation rate of Bitcoin is going to be so low that it's going to be lower than gold at some point in the near future. And that means that it is going to be such a scarce, hard asset. And it doesn't matter how high the price of Bitcoin goes. Now, if the price of gold skyrockets, they're going to find more ways to get gold out of the ground. So the inflation rate will come up just a little bit. But it doesn't matter how high the price of Bitcoin goes. No matter how high the price of Bitcoin goes, or even how low, that inflation schedule is set. So if Bitcoins go up 10 times, 100 times, I'm not saying they are, but I'm saying if they do, it's not like they're going to be able to find more Bitcoin. That inflation schedule is set by the Bitcoin code, by the Bitcoin algorithm. So this is why Bitcoin mimics gold and why silver doesn't, and why Bitcoin can act as a monetary asset because it's such a scarce resource that has such a low inflation rate. Silver's inflation rate is 5%. I mean, that's very, very high, especially if you want to consider silver to be money, which it's not. It's a commodity. It's not money. Gold isn't a commodity per se. It's not really a commodity. If you have a gold bar, you're just going to use it as a gold bar. You're not going to turn that into jewelry. You're not going to turn it into, some industrial use. It's going to just stay as a gold bar. If you sell a gold bar, whoever buys that gold bar is going to keep it as a gold bar. They're not going to convert it into something else. So this is why silver is not a good store of value. Silver, again, has utility. Something has utility. If you're going to use it up, then it doesn't act as a good money. You need something to act as a money. There's something that you can just store it and leave it at. All these concepts are talked about extensively in Seyfettin Amos's book, The Bitcoin Standard. If you're interested in Bitcoin, I highly recommend you read this book. I am going to put a link in the description below to the book through my Amazon affiliate link. You can support this channel by using that link to do your Amazon shopping, whether you buy that book or you buy something else. If you just use the link, you can help support this channel. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you want to keep seeing content like this, hit the thumbs up or thumbs down button. Let me know if you liked or disliked this video. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about gold and silver and Bitcoin as stores of value. Follow me on Twitter. I'm at Bitcoin Motorist on Twitter. If you want to meet me in person, I'm going to be traveling to the Unconfiscatable conference, which is in Las Vegas, January 24th to the 26th. So you can come meet me there in person. I'm going to be there. Seifi Dinamus is going to be there. Tone Vase, Jimmy Song, Max Kaiser, a bunch of other people, a bunch of great speakers and guests are going to be there. So come out and meet me in person and hang out in Vegas. And with that one, guys have an awesome evening. Thank you. Bye.